Good morning, everyone. I love these quiet mornings. The only thing I haven't done yet is bring my cup of coffee out because I need to bring something up here to set it on. If I set it on the swing, I'll spill it. So I'll get my act together. We're here for a month and a half anyway while I look for a place to live. I'm actually hoping that I don't have to really find a place, that we won't be here past this month, but that's just hope. Nothing definite. We don't run our lives based on what we hope will happen to us. We run our lives on what we hope we can do for God. There's a difference. Because we have work to do, that's why we're here. This is our moment. It's hardly 15 minutes, but it's our 15 minutes of fame, because we're going to be gone, and then the focus is right back on the country of Israel and the Jews. And there's still Jews scattered around the world. They've got a lot that have come back. They've had their aliyah to go back up the hill, but it's not all of them. There are still countries that are tolerant. The United States has been one. A lot of Jews here. A lot of synagogues. I've been to a few. I've been to many churches, Christian churches and synagogues. It depends on the leader and their affiliation of what you're going to get. They're all trying to do right by God, but they have to know how to do it right. So we have to make sure that they know. Politely and gently. So when we're traveling around and we're going, like with me when I go to different churches, I'm nice to the people, even if I don't agree with them wholeheartedly. Anybody who's worshiping one God is part right. If they don't believe in Jesus, then that's an issue. But if they at least believe in the one God, then you don't have all the other problems to deal with, and you can focus on Jesus. Now, Jews have been taught all their life in synagogues to hate Jesus. That's what our founding Jewish leaders did when they created their new religion without the temple. They put the hatred of Jesus in there. Satan just loves the fact that he can get in and muck things up. That's an old sailor term, muck. It's the gunk you get on the ground and in the bilges. And it's not very clean, but Satan's not very clean. All right, so as I go around, I try to be pleasant. God wants us to do that. But we got to stop and think about what we're doing. Am I there to please the people or to please God? In the best of times, we can do both. With fellow Christians, both is easy, or easier. If you're going out of that religion into another religion, then you've got to find commonalities. Paul, for a little while, when he went to Rome, was able to please the people by saying, well, I represent the unknown God that you have a statue for. And they accepted him until they heard him say, mine is the only God that you need to be paying attention to. All the other ones are fake. They didn't like that. But he got in initially. Get your foot in the door. And he saved a lot of Romans who became Christians. Okay, so are we to please man or God? Well, that's kind of rhetorical, and you should know the answer. But let's biblically look at that. Let's turn to Galatians 1:10. For do I now persuade men or God, or do I seek to please men? For if I still please men, I would not be a bondservant of Christ. Bondservants are slaves that were set free and stayed with their master because they were good. So Paul is a bondservant of Christ. And he doesn't seek to please men. That's not his goal. He seeks to please God. And you can please men with God if they're a godly person. But too often we're carrying a message that is either strange or contradictory to what the people are doing and believing, and that can cause some turmoil. But you don't soften the message. You don't change the message. You don't dumb it down. Too many churches and pastors have dumbed the message down so they don't make anybody upset. And then their churches stop growing, and they can't figure out why. It's watered down. It's not as strong. We're to please God first. And all these things will be added on. Let's turn over to 1 Thessalonians 2:4. But as we have been approved by God to be entrusted with the gospel, even so we speak, not as pleasing men, but God who tests our heart. We're to do all things for God. He'll work out the details. And we're not to save anybody. It has never been our job to save a single person. All that burden is on Jesus and the Spirit, and all we have to do is deliver the message. That's it. Just deliver the message. If they're not ready to hear the message, then God's still working on it, but they've heard it. It gives them something to think about. The Spirit will bring back to memory, even for those that haven't fully committed yet, will bring back the memory of someone who has talked to them. There may be a crisis come up. People who are doing perfectly fine on this earth, who have everything they want, which are, a few. They're wealthy, they can do anything they want. There's still a hole in their inside that's missing a connection to God, but they think they're okay. They don't need to talk to a God. They've done everything. Those are the hard ones to get to. But you just deliver the message, and God will make sure that there's something in there that draws them to God, so that the message has an impact, has a reason for being there. Where was I at? Not as pleasing men, but God who tests our hearts. For neither at any time did we use flattering words, as you know, nor a cloak for covetousness. We didn't come dressed in the finest garb. We didn't come in flattering everybody. Now, it's okay to flatter people up to a point. Be nice. Encourage people. But don't do it to be pleasing. God is witness. Nor did we seek glory from men, either from you or from others, when we might have made demands as apostles of Christ. We're apostles. Take care of us. Feed us. Give us things. But we were gentle among you, just as a nursing mother cherishes her own children. Paul is giving us an example of how to carry the message around. We don't need to be hitting people over the head with the 50-pound family Bible, leaving marks, causing pain. Let the words do their own work. Don't be hitting people over the head. Yes, many of us deserve that, but that's not the reason for being there. we're to carry this basket of eggs properly. And finally, let's go over to John. John is your best source of who and what God is. Let's go to 5:44. Okay, I'm actually going to go to 41, the beginning of the chapter. I do not receive honor from men, but I know you, that you do not have the love of God in you. I have come in my Father's name, and you do not receive me. If anyone comes in his own name, him you receive. How can you believe? There are many are going to come in his name. Be careful. Don't be deceived. Remember Matthew 24. How can you believe who receive honor from one another and do not seek the honor that comes from the only God? One God. Do not think that I shall accuse you to the Father, but there is one who accuses you, Jesus. He died for your sins, so he's aware of what they are coming in. He throws them away once you confess, never to be brought up again. Jesus never brings your past up, only Satan. And that was Jesus speaking, by the way, red letter. And one final verse this morning. This will be released shortly because of the internet here. I can release right after I finish these. I will try to get back into a routine where I actually feel fairly rested today. Get back into a routine where I upload them the night before. Very few watch them at 6 a.m., but some do. And I'll get back to that. In the meantime, keep praying for me that I get better acclimated. Okay, so we're going to go to John 12:43. I'll go back to 42 again, beginning of the paragraph. Nevertheless, even among the rulers, many believed in him. But because of the Pharisees, they did not confess to him, lest they be put out of the synagogue. I know that. When I became a Christian, I was asked to leave the synagogue that I was studying Hebrew in. I wasn't really going there to be part of the Jewish group. I had thought about that, but when I became a Christian, I changed my destination. But I was still studying. And when I told them I became a Christian, they asked me to leave. Yes. For they love the praise of men more than the praise of God. That's been a problem for a long time. That's what the Pharisees did. They wanted the praise of men. They were the leaders. They were the spiritual leaders, and they were seeking the praise of men. That's why they would stand on the street corners and pray out loud. Sometimes they'd even blow a trumpet to get everybody's attention so that you could hear them and see them praying. Like Jesus said, they've received their reward. And then Jesus cries out, He who believes in me believes not in me, but in him who sent me. Jesus is God, so you're believing. When you see Jesus, you're seeing God. And he who sees me sees him who sent me. I have come as a light into the world, that whoever believes in me should not abide in darkness. That's Jesus' job back then. It's our job now. We don't have a lot of time. How long? Good guess. My guess is it would be appropriate for this year, from all the numbers that we've looked at, But it's easy for us to mess up on the dates. There's so many things where the dates have gotten out of alignment. Christ wasn't born at 1 AD. There is no 0 AD, by the way. There's no 0 in the Roman numbers, and we're looking at a Roman calendar, so there is no 0. But Christ wasn't born 1, because one of the early calculators of the timeline messed up. So we're probably 3 to 7 years off. So does that mean that we're off now? Or does that mean that the incorrect time, God knew it was going to be an incorrect time, and He's using the current time? But it's 2023 instead of 2020 or 2030. So that's one of the hard parts about trying to put a date down. Yeah, we've done some corrections and we think we've got it right. We think. The question is do we truly have it right? The bottom line is, from beginning to end of all this, at this point in time, it's at best this month. It could be 10 years from now. I don't see how I can go that far out, but I'm giving it a reasonable time frame. But 10 years, how many people have lived 10 years and just it went by like that and you don't remember it? I'm giving you a worst case scenario to let you know that it's still extremely close. Now, I'm still banking on this year, maybe this month, maybe into next. Tabernacles runs across between the two calendar months that we use. But when we go from Elul to Tishri, we're in the new year. So our calendar doesn't match the Hebrew calendar. And theirs has adjusted a few times too. Do we have all the leap years in? They have a leap month, we have a leap year. Do we have all the Shemitah years in? You see, we're not supposed to know. We're just supposed to work. Get the word out. Tell people. There is only one way. Anybody who teaches there are multiple ways is teaching Satan's lies. And you can't work your way to heaven. It is through the gift, the free gift of Jesus Christ. As we know from the thief on the cross, you don't even have to be baptized, to get on your knees, to do anything else except and have faith. Without faith, it's impossible to please God. If you accept the free gift, that's a sign of faith. What you do with your life after that depends on how much time you've got. The thief on the cross never had a time to hand out a tract, to go to talk to anybody. So even if it's at the last moment, on a dying deathbed, and you accept Christ, it's still good. We have the parable of the workers. The first ones came in, got a certain amount. The ones that came in later got more. If the first ones come in and complain, the landowner said, look, you agreed to the terms. I was fair, but I needed some more. And I have a different agreement here. Everybody's going to get a unique opportunity. God knows us and our capabilities better than we do. We may be asked to do something that we are completely afraid to do or unknowledgeable in doing. People who have never gotten up and spoke might be asked to get up and speak. On Pentecost, they were looking at these people going, aren't these fishermen? And yet they're talking in my language? I don't know how the fishermen talked back then. Did they sound like a pirate? I don't know. Actually, pirates didn't talk like that. I don't think I've mentioned that before, but pirates didn't say, "Arr." The only reason we think that is because of the then Disney, not the current Disney, the then Disney and Treasure Island. Robert Newton, who played Long John Silver, that's the way he talked all the time, you know. And so we think pirates talk like that. And pirates were different nationalities. Basically, the United States hired mercenaries to fight for us against England. The only reason we survived, because we didn't have a navy, we didn't have the power to go up against them, but we hired enough people to help. But England was busy in a war with France. That's why we survived. We were those colony people over there that were way far away, and we got our country right across there from us. We got to fight. So they were kept busy, but we hired these mercenaries to fight for us. And when the war was over, our government, people back then, decided to deny that these people were even working for us and put them on lists of, because they, well, to a degree, they didn't stop fighting. They kept pirating. So they became hunted. And many were French, because the French were against England anyway, so that's why we have the Gulf Coast, the New Orleans, and the French colonies. And a couple of the most notorious pirates were women. Yeah, they disguised themselves, but they were women. They looked like young boys, but they had a crew. Okay, enough of our history lesson. Be ready. It could be any time. I'm hoping it's any time. Everybody is. Everybody who's got their destination in heaven. It's going to get bad down here. More rumors coming out about the fire in Maui. People being evicted now. Wealthy people's homes that were there close to the fire were not damaged. I think they were cleaning out so they could put themselves a nice resort there. We're talking about the evilest evil you can possibly imagine is setting up roost on this planet. And I wouldn't put anything beyond them. Our climate seems to be changing a lot. Extremes. Earthquakes. Did you see on Dutch's site how many earthquakes we have in the United States in the last week? We don't normally get that many. Something's going on. It's not normal. Jesus warned us, but said not to be afraid. So get the word out. You don't have a lot of time. If you tell somebody today, and we are gone in a couple of weeks, they're going to still remember it. Plant those seeds till we meet in the clouds. God bless.